The rest of the story. In his book, Spoon River Anthology, Edgar Lee Masters brings a graveyard to life. He makes a fanciful visit to a small-town cemetery in southern Illinois. He allows the dead to tell their secrets and to gossip about each other. Now, Carlock, Illinois, is a real town, located about 10 miles northwest of Bloomington. There are fewer than 500 people in the whole town of Carlock, and yet there are 2 cemeteries. Again, fewer than 500 people, but 2 cemeteries? And if we could awaken those who have slept there for most of 100 years, the story they would tell might be difficult to believe. In fact, there are those among the living in Carlock who have never yet heard the rest of the story. Carlock, Illinois, 500 people, 2 cemeteries. One, large, elaborate, picturesque. The town's founder, Abraham W. Carlock, is buried there. Now, keep in mind, there are about 450 people actually in the whole town, so when I say large and elaborate, I mean for a community of that size, also by comparison with the town's second cemetery, because the second is a smaller, simpler one, the one that does not enjoy a lakeside view. That graveyard was originally intended for Carlock's second-class citizens. If you wanted to learn all of the details, you'd have to go out to the fancy cemetery and knock on old man Carlock's tombstone. He'd remember the particulars that the living never knew. What you're about to hear, we now know for sure. Abraham Carlock was a staunch, mostly sensible man, even generous mostly. But there was a point at which Abe's sensibility and generosity broke down. I'm referring to his passionate prejudice. There was one group of people he disliked so intensely he refused even to speak to them. Mr. Carlock was somewhat of an anachronism, really, living in the time of Lincoln, even in the land of Lincoln, Illinois. And yet, as far as town founder Carlock was concerned, all men were definitely not created equal. There were his kind, and there were the other kind, and that's all there was to it. A man named John Benson was one of the other kind, one of the town's second-class citizens. I suppose you'd call him a leader of his minority group. Indeed, it was John Benson who provided the land for that second cemetery, that graveyard where, however humbly by contrast, his people might rest in peace. Even today, right now, Carlock's second graveyard, the one about a quarter mile down the road, even today, it's the more modest of the 2. Over the past 100 years, the names of both cemeteries have changed. So has the passionate prejudice that once divided the town, even in death. In fact, I understand there are even a few townsfolk who are learning now, at this moment, for the first time, the rest of the story. That long ago, in the tiny community of Carlock, Illinois, there was a discrimination so intense that it was carried all the way to the grave. That the town's larger cemetery, the one by the lake, was for first-class citizens. The smaller cemetery down the road, that was for the second-class citizens of Carlock. That was for people you wouldn't be caught dead with. Republicans. And now you know the rest of the story.